Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farmers Show presented by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag, and it is wonderful to have you along for the ride. I really like to stress everything here for Sixers fans, basketball fans, NBA draft fans, that the 76ers are playing the game too. And the news that came out yesterday proves that. The news that came out regarding VJ Edgecomb having a nervous workout for the Sixers, but the interview that he had with the Sixers was great, and Tyrese Maxey flying in was great. Who else is going to release the news that a player was nervous in his workout? That's only going to come from one player. The agent is going to put that out there? The agent's not putting that out there. Like, oh, well, what if you want him to fall? Then you're not working out for the Sixers. Forget about it. The report that's out there, or not report, but I would call it an observation and the opinion of, which is well-informed, Brian Windhorst over the weekend on NBA Today Friday, coming out talking about Ace Bailey, calling him dangerous. All the adjectives that are being thrown about right now also get put out there by the 76ers or teams that perhaps want him to fall. And I think a lot of people look at Ace Bailey at this point and do see a lot of red flags. And I know a lot of people last week when he turned down the workout with the Sixers said, no thanks, but no thanks. Yeah, I scheduled it, but don't worry about it. I know when that happened, a lot of people went, I'm out of here. This Ace Bailey's another Ben Simmons, another Markelle Fultz. And believe me, my first thought in all of that was, oh, hell yeah, this guy. No thanks. This guy's not in it for the game. This guy's not in it to win. I'm still on the Ace Bailey bandwagon, by the way. I'm so done with feelings. Like, this feels, I got to be honest, in a lot of ways, you know, when you're thinking of a player that could be a difference maker for you, the player that Ace Bailey could be in a couple years certainly is appealing. And in a lot of ways, I feel like it's when people say a baseball player in a long slump is due. They're hoping for the best. He's due. I just feel like Fultz was wrong. Ben Simmons is wrong. You know what? It can't be three guys in a row, right? It can't. Like, when the Sixers are due to be right about a guy that just seems so wrong. Like, it's so wrong that it's got to be right, right? When I go back and I is this guy really going to be worth it? And then you see his skill set, and you think about the fact he's 18 years old, and you think about, I can't believe this has to be specified so much. You know, he's 6'10" with shoes on, 6'9" with shoes on. There's some thick shoes if he's 6'7", without shoes, as he was measured at the combine. But I look at the skill set and I go, this is the exact guy that I want to play with Tyrese Maxey. It's a skill set. But the off the court stuff, the mentality, the approach is scary, and that's why Brian Windhorst called him dangerous. That's why Brian Windhorst said that the GM that drafts Ace Bailey, and the draft is tomorrow, by the way, the GM that drafts Ace Bailey better feel really secure in his job. He has to feel very safe. Those are the two words, in his job. So is Daryl Morey feeling confident enough about his job that, I'll be here in 2 years when Ace Bailey's an all-star? Now, is he feeling like that? Or is he feeling like, I'm getting fired this year? Because if the Sixers don't make the playoffs this year, I don't think Daryl Morey's going to be back. And I'm not hurt by that. I'm not offended by that. I'm not upset about it. I'm not like banging the drum. Daryl Morey's got to stay. No, they had to give the contract to Embiid. They had to give him a contract. Did they? I don't think they did. I don't think they had to do that. But they did. So I look at this whole situation and I listen to the words that are being thrown about. The number one that really jumped out to me yesterday was the report. Now, usually in a mock draft type of article or site page is the way I say it. You don't get a report in it. There from no one. This was on ESPN. From no one else. All we had heard about the VJ Edgecomb visit was great, wonderful, amazing, which, by the way, is also the 76ers playing the game. And maybe they were doing that with the end goal being, if we say VJ Edgecomb was so great, we're going to take him at 3. Then Ace Bailey's going to come in to work out, and that'll show him. And it worked for a time. Before he canceled. So all the good stuff that was coming out about VJ Edgecomb, I think that came from the Sixers. Then the report comes out yesterday as part of the mock draft on ESPN that the workout was nervous. VJ Edgecomb was nervous. Now, was I nervous about that? No, because even in the article, it even points out the unnatural situation of one-on-one play. He seemed nervous, VJ Edgecomb. But the interview portion of the meeting, the dinner and the meeting with Maxey, all that swimmingly. He interviews well. And after watching VJ Edgecomb at Baylor and marveling at his explosiveness and his ability to get to the basket and create his own shot, all of that, I'm going to take that, really, with an arena full of people over a one-on-one workout. I don't need him to be on fire in a one-on-one workout to go, oh, could this guy play? Now, that was my thought. I still think that, generally. But then Keith Pompey told me a little story about a guy named Markelle Fultz working out for the Sixers and being terrible, and Brian Colangelo shutting it down after the media was like, this guy's not hitting any shots. This guy doesn't look fluid. This guy looks nervous as hell. Tweeting it all. And then Brian Colangelo, old collarless Colangelo, would be like, we're shutting it down. Adjusting his collar. For the people on the podcast, I just adjusted my collar. Like collars, Colangelo. That whole thing was wild. So that doesn't make me feel good that's what it reminded Keith of. That's a bad situation. But while we're throwing judgment around about either VJ Edgecomb or Ace Bailey or any other prospect. I mean, look, I also really like Trey Johnson. You talk about explosiveness and the ability to create your shot. I really like both. The Sixers seem to be higher on VJ Edgecomb. When you talk about these two prospects that the Sixers have been linked to the most, I think VJ Edgecomb, to go back to Daryl Morey, is the guy that is the more NBA-ready player, and I think that's the consensus. That's what everyone thinks, and I agree with it. He's the guy that's ready to come in, help you right now, and be really close to his ceiling as the projection goes. And Ace Bailey is the guy that is not necessarily a project, but has a lot of room to grow. So the situation I look at right now is how impacted are the Sixers going to be? Especially the ultimate example of this is Daryl Morey, if he doesn't feel safe in his job and feels like he has to win now, is he going to not take Ace Bailey? Not necessarily because of the red flags, but because of the time it's going to take for him to develop. Or is he going to take VJ Edgecomb, the more NBA-ready player, and look, no red flags? I still think the ceiling is much higher for Ace Bailey. And then the ultimate example of it for Daryl Morey is he just trades the number 3 overall pick for a player that will help him win now. The early Fish-a-Wish name was Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's just to acknowledge that people talked about that. Never linked, just people talked about it. Certainly not Kevin Durant. I don't even want to entertain the possibility. But if we're talking about, as Brian Windhorst said, the guy that drafts Ace Bailey has to feel pretty safe in his job, very safe in his job. I don't think that's Daryl Morey. I don't think that describes Daryl Morey. That's a characteristic that is a red flag as to whether or not the Sixers want Ace Bailey. Give me the best player. Give me the guy that is going to have the best NBA career. Give me the guy that is going to have the closest to the fit and need that the Sixers have with or without Joel Embiid and Paul George. And I think that's Ace Bailey. Give me a guy that can play alongside Tyrese Maxey. And that's Ace Bailey. I'm still on the Ace Bailey bandwagon. All the other stuff is just like, am I really going to get caught up in this when both sides are playing games? No. And in all honesty, I look at the workout and I say, yeah, it's unfortunate. I think he's in a situation where he is getting really bad advice. But the thing about that is that he's had some relatives, his mother, I know his aunt, I think his father played college ball also. He's had people that have played some, high up basketball. I would think he'd be listening to these people too, not just his agent. But the agent is hired and brought in for a reason. Get him the biggest possible bag. Well, that still is with the 76ers. That's still with the 76ers. So I'm still hoping they work this out. East Coast team. Well, the Sixers it's crazy how East Coast the Sixers are because they play in Philadelphia. It's really wild. And they practice even more East Coast, across the river in Camden. So that's very East Coast. That's still in Jersey, man. Might as well still be at Rutgers. You know what I mean? The biggest, if you want to talk about red flags, though, surrounding Ace Bailey and really Dylan Harper, even for that matter. And I hate this as a guy that I've never been a huge college sports fan. Like, I don't live and eat, sleep, breathe it, like some other people. But I do acknowledge its importance, especially when trying to scout talent, if you will, and seeing who would be the best. Like, I was never a bigger college bat. I'll say this, though. When the Sixers were going through the process, I was never a bigger NCAA fan than I was in those years when I was saying, oh, who could be coming for the Sixers? Who could be coming up? I was basically looking at it as the Sixers had a farm team, farm teams down there. But with NIL, it's a totally different ballgame. It's absolutely changed the landscape. And these kids can go to college. They can get a nice little bag for themselves, a little tiny bag, little duffel bag of stuff before they get the giant, have to check it at the airport bag, So how much do you put into Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey not making the NCAA tournament at Rutgers when they're supposed to be the second and third overall pick in the draft? At least they have been slated as that for the past month plus. A month plus, more than that, geez. Off season, up until recently. I say it all the time about Ben Simmons. When I was watching him at LSU, again, process error and all that. When I was watching him at LSU, you never want. He just looked disinterested in the game. And yeah, he would have wild nights, crazy nights where he'd go off, and be all over the rim and all that. But still, for the most part, just disinterested. You never want to see the guy that other people are talking about. Oh, if he gets a jump shot, he's LeBron James. Like, that was the conversation. If he gets a jump shot, he's LeBron James. But the red flags were how he played in college, the way he played in college. And then the red flag was he can't shoot. Not only can he not shoot, he won't shoot. That was the bigger thing. He won't shoot. People throwing high school videos up there of him, dropping threes in Mount Verde and all that stuff. Dude, that's great. They let it rip in the NBA? No. Does other things. I was one of those people. He does some other things pretty well. Well, basketball players should be able to shoot the basketball, especially if they're going to be on the court for, 38 minutes, 42 minutes. They got to be out there. They got to be able to shoot. If they're going to be out there, they got to be able to shoot. So I look at all that. But I look at a guy like Ace Bailey, and I look at him at Rutgers, and I go, why didn't they do anything more? Where's the killer mentality? Where's the win now mentality? Where's the competitor that wants to win? That's a red flag as well that I don't think enough people acknowledge, but it's college now, and college is not looked at the same way it used to be, which is just unfortunate. I want to believe that the games that they're playing at that level, which is the highest level they can possibly play at the moment, I want to believe that they're killers. And that didn't appear to be the case. So here's my options. I either buy into the potential of Ace Bailey and get a guy that could be a perennial all-star level player, I believe. Or I could buy into VJ Edgecomb, who I think is going to be a really solid player for you at the NBA level. Make a couple all-star games, maybe not perennial. Certainly have that. The thing I love most about his game is his explosiveness. Heady player. Basically everything you would want in a job interview, he could do on the court. Like, just responsible with the basketball, not erratic, good shots. Again, heady player. the player that is the NBA comp, which I believe is extreme praise, is, and I hate to use the word poor man's, but like his style of play, not his level of ability, but style of play does remind me a lot of Anthony Edwards. I know that's a common comp, but that's who he looks like. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that on the Sixers, certainly. But when you're getting other comps to, more lanky swingman, and you're getting comps like Ace Bailey's getting, I'd also like to get that. I'd like to get that on the Sixers also. I figure you got to swing for the fences, because even if Daryl Morey doesn't feel safe in his job, if Ace Bailey is anything of what his potential is supposed to be in his rookie year, if he's even a small ounce of that, well, then as a GM, you're going to be looking pretty damn good with Tyrese Maxey, who you drafted, with Jared McCain, who you drafted, with Quentin Grimes, who you traded for and actually became a player that looks like he could lead a second unit, and Ace Bailey. Yeah, you're going to be looking pretty damn good in the very near future. My prediction is the Sixers take Ace Bailey at number 3. Now I'll wait for things to play out today and see what adjectives get thrown around, like dangerous, like nervous, about these players going into tomorrow's NBA draft. The other option, though, for the Sixers, in my opinion, if they trade back, I wouldn't be pissed, but I doubt that. If there's anything I think that Daryl Morey's status would prevent in terms of his job status and wanting to keep his job, if there's anything else that would prevent that would, if there's anything else that would hurt those odds of him keeping that gig that he has right now, it would be trading back for the future. Because I don't think he's got a lot of runway there with the future. You know what I'm saying? So the trade back scenario, don't see it happening. If it's a trade back where somebody else wants to trade up and get VJ Edgecomb, and you want to trade back and you get still Ace Bailey at 5 or 7, whatever, then by all means, you go for it. You do it. If you still think you can get your player. But I still don't see that happening. The other thing for me is it's not just about this year. It's also going to be about next year. We got nothing. So I can see that as being a possibility for the Sixers. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. If they still think they can get the player that they know, if they still think they can get the player they want, then it's a smart move. It's a Howie Roseman-esque move. I don't see that. I think it's going to be a very dull draft night. With the 3rd pick in the 2025 NBA draft, Philadelphia 76ers select Ace Bailey, Rutgers. That's what I think goes down tomorrow night. By the way, Keith Pompey and I are going to have more on this later on Locked On 76ers show, coming up a little bit later today. Something made me feel really good last night. I was when I was reading this, Bob Nightingale, USA Today, had the story about the Philadelphia Phillies taking very serious their pursuit of Kyle Schwarber. Tried to get a deal done in spring training. Not a great deal, apparently. Kyle Schwarber said, thanks for no thanks. We'll table the conversation. Well, according to Bob Nightingale, this is, yes, on the table for the Philadelphia Phillies, and something that I'd like to get off the table with Kyle Schwarber returning to Philadelphia for X amount of years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the case might be. That was Bob Nightingale's report yesterday. Jeff Passan, on that report, added to it that the Phillies could be signing him to a 4-year, $100 million deal. Kyle Schwarber, 33 years old. They could be looking at him as a guy to be here for another 4 years, be a guy to, hit 40 home runs in their lineup for the next 4 years after this one, and also provide really the anchor of the leadership in that clubhouse. We could all talk about Kyle Schwarber's power and the Schwarber bombs and everything that he does in the batter's box. Approach to the plate, keen eye, and all that stuff. But one story, just to tell somebody in Philadelphia that a new player, has the kind of respect in the clubhouse that Darren Dalton had in the clubhouse, that raises your eyebrows. That goes, huh? Hold on. Run that by me again. And that's the story that just is on repeat in my mind. When Dave Dombrowski traded for Darren Dalton in Miami, when they won their World Series in 1997, the guys in that clubhouse needed Darren Dalton. They needed somebody of that leadership caliber. They needed somebody to come in there and just kind of be the dad in a lot of instances. And players looked at him with the utmost respect. And he said, when Kyle Schwarber walks through the Phillies clubhouse, that's the kind of aura he has about him. Guys are going to him all the time when it comes to help with hitting, him and Kevin Long. And yes, I know a lot of Phillies fans hate hearing this, but Kyle Schwarber really likes Kevin Long. A lot of players do too, but they really love having Kyle Schwarber around. Well, look, let's look at the thing that's the most important, production. You have 40 home runs in this lineup. You don't have somebody that is just an all-out free swinger. You have a guy that's actually hitting well this season, not just with the home runs, which is also great, 23 on the season. But you also talk about the batting average clicking up there this year. You love seeing that. The on-base percentage is phenomenal. You want to move on from that? I don't. Then you also throw into the idea, you throw into the mix that this is a guy, after getting no hit in a World Series, I know I bring that up a lot, but after getting no hit in the World Series as a team, right after it, post-game press guy, I don't care. On to the next one. Unfortunately, there weren't many W's after that. None, as a matter of fact, but got it out of his head as fast as possible. If you don't want to ride with that guy, if you're in that clubhouse, I don't know what to tell you. But that's what he brings to the table. And listening to a possible 100-year, as far as I'm concerned, 100 years, $100 million deal over 4 years, in a heartbeat, done. I'm doing that with Kyle Schwarber. Keeping him here in Philly, let's do it. A DH now, not a left fielder. Yeah, you could do that. I'm in a heartbeat. I don't know who's going to blow the Phillies out of the water when it comes to a deal like that. I would do that deal. I would sign Kyle Schwarber to that deal. When it comes to the Phillies and the negotiation process and all that stuff, trying to get it done in spring training, if that was the deal that they offered, and that's what they considered to be, the Kyle Schwarber's camp considered to be, no, not really what we're looking for. We want a little bit more. Then I find that to be fascinating, because I think I would sign that deal as well. There could just be the interest in attempting free agency after some solid time in Philadelphia and seeing what's out there on the open market. But I would really love to him to stay here in Philadelphia. But what I really loved about the story was, at least the Phillies are certainly in an avenue, according to Bob Nightingale, that they understand what they have in Kyle Schwarber, both in the batter's box and in the clubhouse. I think everyone understands what's in that batter's box when he steps up there. And also the ability to lead off if you need him to lead off, which is insane. But he hell of a lead off. The Phillies win a lot of games with him in the leadoff spot. So I find it to be fascinating, and I also find it comforting that the Phillies, this is not lost on them. Now, this is no doubt coming from Phillies ownership. It might be a way to just let the fans know that this is something that's very important to them, to make sure that they have Kyle Schwarber staying in that lineup for the foreseeable future. And that makes me feel pretty damn good as a guy that wants to see this team win baseball games, and a guy that likes to see Kyle Schwarber swinging a bat to help them win baseball games. So that's great. You could look at the DH position as well. I mean, look, the occasional, very occasional, once a month left fielder for you is, again, in Kyle Schwarber. Yeah, sure. You just cross your fingers and not too many fly balls go out that way, especially balls that are hit closer to the gap. So that's what I look at in the whole situation. So you have some flexibility there, both with how he could bat in the lineup, where he could bat in the lineup, and also if he ever has to go play in the field. The one thing I don't like is that a DH that doesn't play first base. And even Kyle Schwarber said, yes, he said, I've been at first base. I don't like to say that I've played first base. He goes, I stood there with a mitt, but I wouldn't say I played first base. I don't think that's really going to factor in the negotiations. I think at this point, everyone that is, even the people that want to pursue Kyle Schwarber outside of the Phillies, understand what Kyle Schwarber is right now. You're not saying, oh, 33 years old. All right, here's how you play first base. You have this mitt. It looks like a big oven mitt, kind of like a catcher's mitt, but not really. And then you go over there. No, thanks. And I will give credit to Kyle Schwarber. I'll give every ounce of credit to Kyle Schwarber and say that man is not slow. I'll say he can move. Not fast, but he's not slow. But I am going to go out on a limb and say that Kyle Schwarber is not very flexible. So a first base stretch might not be in his repertoire in the near future. I don't think he's adding that. I don't think he's going to go into the offseason and be like, oh, I've been doing yoga, so now maybe I'll get 120 over the next 4 years. Because now I can do a split at first base. I don't think that's happening. John Middleton wanted this story out, I have no doubt. Phillies ownership wanted this story out, that they are taking this seriously. They're still in pursuit. They realized and acknowledged the importance of Kyle Schwarber to this lineup, to this team. And I don't think that's going to be lost on them. I don't think it's just propaganda. I don't think it's owners speak. I think it's something that Dave Dombrowski and John Middleton really want to get done. And I'm hoping it does get done. Now, just as I was talking about Daryl Morey, Dave Dombrowski's seat, I don't think it's as hot as some fans want it. And look, they just beat the Mets 2 out of 3. They're in first place in the NL East. Playoffs are far from now, but they're going to be a playoff team. I have no doubt in my mind. When you talk about a GM or a president of baseball ops in this case, it's similar to Daryl Morey, president of basketball ops, but I look at Dave Dombrowski like, you got to perform. This team has to perform in the playoffs, or he's gone and Rob Thompson's gone. We could be looking at a situation here with the Phillies where they just have everybody take the ultimate test this playoff run. Anything short of a World Series, and I think this team is moving on from Rob Thompson. Anything short of a World Series appearance, I think Dave Dombrowski is going to be looking for another job. So I think Dave Dombrowski at this trade deadline is going to be a little bit more motivated than he has been in other years. And there is also the other outlying chance that you don't have Kyle Schwarber going forward. So if Dave Dombrowski has a team that, makes the playoffs but fizzles out again, then he's out. You look at Rob Thompson, a team that fizzles out, done. Dave Dombrowski could potentially make it to another World Series with this squad, and which I don't think is going to happen with the way it's constructed, and keep his job. But anything short of that, he's out. So he might have just a little bit more extra added motivation to make sure that this trade deadline is a successful one for the Phillies. So if you're looking for a GM to be motivated by the fact that he might lose his job soon, this is a good situation for that, going into the July 31st trade deadline. If you're looking for a GM in basketball or a president of baseball ops to be motivated by the idea that he might lose his job, Daryl Morey's in a similar boat, but I think that is a little hotter right now, because this isn't a draft. This is performing. This is bring me someone to win right now. You're not trading at the deadline as a team like the Phillies that's here to win now, going, oh, this player's really going to develop. Is he going to develop in the next 2 months? No, then I don't want him. Nor is he going to get the playing time in the major league level to develop. You come in to be a left fielder. You come in to be a first baseman. You come in to be a pitcher out of the bullpen. And just to reiterate what I said yesterday about the Aaron Nola situation, 60-day IL, fine. But there is no part of you, no part, that should think of Aaron Nola as, we got this acquisition. Unless he's going to go to the bullpen and be a closer, which, no, he's not. Let's just, a long relief, no part of me. No, thanks. That is going to look at him as if he's some big acquisition. I hate when presidents of ops or general managers talk about the injured guy coming back as, that's like adding, we won 15 games in a row. And then it's like, then we're adding him back to the lineup. Like, no, don't even. You knew you had that. How are you adding to it? You already know you have it in the bag. How are you adding to it? How are you going to know that this team is going to be ready to win in September? You already know you have that coming back. Have the team in the best possible position to make a run by the time that guy comes off the IL. Please and thank you. I'm confident the Phillies get it done with Kyle Schwarber. I will say that. Very confident. You're Philadelphia. Oh, by the way, Phillies are back at it tonight in Houston against the Astros at 8:10. Last night was an off night. I had a brief panic attack. Yesterday, with the day off, I got recruited to announce a playoff game in my township. They asked me if I'd be interested in announcing the same league my daughter plays softball in. They asked me if I'd be interested in announcing the girls' softball lineups. I was like, absolutely. So I figured, I got some time. Phillies are off. My son actually had a soccer practice. So I was like, yeah, I got time. So I go out there and I do the game. Very nice. Good game. Springfield won. Way to go. And I go home and relax. And I get a notification on my watch, my Apple Watch. And I go, what the hell? And it was Houston Astros homer in the first inning. And I go, what? What? And I freak out for a second. And I jump up and I grab my phone and I go to read most of the thing. And it was Todd Zielecki, recapping a home run the Astros hit in 2006 in the Phillies, in the first inning against the Phillies, something like that. And I was like, oh, thank God. All right. I was like, they're off tonight. They start the 3-game series tomorrow. That little panic attack. But anyway, they start the series tonight. Jeez. They start the series tonight, 8:10. Ranger Suarez back on the hill for the Phillies. Looking to build. Let's continue to build. And they got this 3-game set in Houston, and then another weekend divisional series against the Braves in Atlanta. A lot of air out of the balloon if they lose to the Braves. And then, quite frankly, a lot of air. The Astros are a better team. That's a team you should be more concerned about anyway. Not for any World Series revenge at this point, but still, just a team that's better than the Braves. A team you really want to beat. If they take 2 out of 3 there, that'll be great. They lose 2 or 3 in Atlanta, that'll be a little deflating. But it's going to be a really good series. It should be a really good series. Hopefully, one of the Phillies can keep the bats going with. Your Philadelphia Eagles. We are less than a month away from training camp. By the way, Locked On Eagles Squad podcast coming up a little bit later today. Look forward to doing that at noon on the Locked On Eagles YouTube channel. Jaylen Herz wrote a book, Better Than a Touchdown. It's the title of the book. It's a children's book. I love these. Brandon Graham has done it. Brian Westbrook has done it. And I believe it's headed up by Leslie Van Arsdale, formerly of CBS 3. Look, I love all this, all the off the field stuff. And this time, here's my thought. And as you guys know, I absolutely admire Jaylen Herz. And I've said many times to acknowledge this moment in time where Jaylen Herz is our quarterback, because he's the guy we've been waiting for ever. Just a guy that you just don't have any doubts about off the field. And a guy that, he just goes to Super Bowls and has a Super Bowl ring already and has a Super Bowl MVP. Just that guy. That's the guy we've been waiting for. So what time of year is it? Ask yourself this question. In the NFL, what time of year is it? It's trouble time, okay? It's trouble time. It's when everybody breaks down their OTAs, their mandatory mini camps. It's the time of the year where everyone's like, okay, just all right, guys, gather in. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid, okay? From now to when you walk out that door and walk back in the door, from that time when you walk out and walk back in, don't do anything stupid. Don't rent a boat. Don't stay out too late at the nightclub. Don't stay out too late wherever. Don't just make smart decisions. Herm Edwards, I think, would call it the 11 p.m. rule? Nothing good happens after 11 p.m. So just stay home. In a moment in time in the NFL calendar where every coach, every general manager is just going to bed, looking at their phone, be like, okay, oh, did I hear it? No. Oh, did I hear it? No. Is it Big Dom? Who's calling? Like, no. For everyone that's going to bed with agita this time of year, worried about their players getting in trouble, worried about their players derailing a season before it even starts with a huge distraction, or God forbid, anything worse. In a time like this, right now, Jaylen Herz writes a children's book. Releases a children's book, at least. That's the time we're in right now. Speeding tickets. Jaylen Herz is writing a children's book. That's what made me laugh out loud. And it's also a time where I think a lot of these rookies that are going to be leaned on heavily in the upcoming season, especially on the defensive side of things. John Campbell, obviously being the number one guy there. Possibly Drew Makuba, if they're looking at him to really be their starting safety. And Ty Robinson. You got your feet wet. Like, even though John Campbell really wasn't practicing, he was still there. He saw how things were run. He saw how Nick Sirianni ran his meeting. He saw, everything, the behind-the-scenes look of being an NFL player. This is what it's all about. You got your feet wet in OTAs and minicamp. Now you had a month to go. All right. Now I know when the real deal starts in training camp and the dress rehearsals happen in preseason, I know what I have to do to be ready. I got my feet wet. If you're Ty Robinson, then you've already heard the quotes from Jalen Carter about what a monster you can be. If you're Jahad Campbell, you've already seen the excitement Vic Fangio has to have you here. If you're Drew Makuba, you've already had your opportunity to go out there and play the safety position without Reed Blankenship being there. And then you did have it with him there at minicamp, but OTAs leading up to it, no. So all these young guys they might be leaning on. Drew Kendall, I do believe, is a dark horse to win the right guard spot. If he is at the same level of Tyler Steen or close to the same level of Tyler Steen, he's going to take that job. He got his feet wet in OTAs and minicamp. And now he has a month plus to reflect on all the things that he could be doing for this team going forward. Right now, and I know players are big on TikTok, social media with other things, and good for them. But right now is a time to make sure you hit that playbook. Now is the time to make sure okay, well, this is what I thought it was going into it, but now I know this is what it is going into it, and make that adjustment. This is a great time for these young players. And it is wild. Now, Drew Kendall, the one exception being on the offensive side of the football, but everybody else, this is a heavy reliance. Just like you're looking at a guy like Nolan Smith to come out and just be a game wrecker and really take off from where he left off last year. The two big leaps that he took after the bye week and then after Brandon Graham went down, you're looking for another big leap for him. But even if he stays at the same level that he was at in the walking off the field in the Super Bowl, minus the tricep injury, then you're going to be looking at a guy that's going to be that game wrecker that you want him to be. But then when you talk about the rookies, heavily relying on them. And I'll say this, for anybody like me that wants to see the passing game take on a bigger role, and I know I never thought we'd say that about the NBA, or excuse me, about the NFL and our Philadelphia Eagles, about they need to pass the ball more. Whatever allows Saquon Barkley a couple of plays off because the passing game was so successful, then I'll be very happy about that. I'm not saying, shove it in there, make sure you're absolutely become a passing offense. No, not saying that at all. Just rely a little bit more on the passing game. Saquon Barkley is still the star of the show. You're talking about game wreckers. He's the game wrecker for the opponent. But when the passing game is needed, lean on it, or when you can use the passing game a little bit more, lean on that a little bit. This defense with a lot of rookies being leaned upon heavily, maybe especially in the early goings of the season, you're going to be needing to throw the ball a little bit more. And I also think the Dallas Goedert's contract situation is going to play into it. I just think Dallas Goedert's going to have a huge year. And he took a $4 million pay cut to have a great year this year and cash in next year. So you want to talk about that injury that maybe he plays through? Maybe this will be the year that he does that. If he can. Of course, if he can. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS. You get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS. You get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you guys are doing. Danny, what's going on? Hello. Daniel, what's going on? Hello. Eric R, happy NBA. Or every NBA player and former NBA player talks about Ace Bailey as the real deal. Every person that never picked up a basketball and wanted flagged the most negative things to say about him. That's funny. Jason A, what's going on? Good morning. Jason A, hello. I'm still taking Ace Bailey. I'm with you. Too many rumors and BS happening. Yep, that's the draft, right? Like I said, both sides are playing the game. Jerry Von Skyver, good morning, Mark and everyone. Good morning. Don Vito, what? Good morning. Don't be surprised if the Hornets and Sixers make a deal to swap picks. Carolina move up 3, select VJ Edgecomb. Let's move back to Con Knipple. Boy, oh boy. April, good morning. Sean Kilran, yes, everyone stay cool in this heat. Good morning, Kevin. Crawley, what's going on? We don't know who's going to have the best career. It's a guessing game. Yeah, overall, it's always a guessing game. It always boils down to that. There is a reason Jokic went in the second round. Jokic went in the second round. T-Mac didn't go top 3. Shea got drafted outside the top 10. Yeah. Curry, Giannis, absolutely a guessing game. Ken Sa, good morning, brother. I coach Ken. I am representing your co-anchor. He's making demands of extra cookies plus broken arm messages. What? Hugs, hopefully you are comply to these demands. What? What is happening? Eric R., what's going on? Don't put anything into it. Okay, fair enough. Ben, what's going on? Any news on Justin Simmons? Not yet, but it's coming, baby. It's coming. Mike Curry, F that book. Thank you. Yes, Sean Gillespie. Stay hydrated, everyone. Stay hydrated. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Hey, let's get to the morning rush. Brought by Sky Motor Cars, SkyMotorCars.com. Phillies back at it tonight, like I mentioned earlier, against the Houston Astros. 8:10 start time for your Phillies. Ranger Suarez will be on the hill as they start this road trip, 6-game road trip, 3 in Houston, 3 in Atlanta. Framber Valdez gets the start, so a lefty-lefty matchup tonight. Houston Astros 45-33, Phillies 47-31. That's the way this one boils down. Today, I'm sure even more will come out regarding the NBA draft, being that it's tomorrow at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. I'll be back. Jason A., please stop with Justin Simmons. We don't want him here. I want him here. I'd like him here as soon as possible. Thank you. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. All right, I'll be back with you guys tomorrow and also later today with Locked On 76ers with Keith Pompey and also Locked On Eagles Squad podcast coming up at noon today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch you guys later.